let's just start with like your favorite thing this year. I don't know, biggest accomplishment or like favorite thing that we did, for Ellie,
I feel like it's going to sound a little weird because we've been doing this business for a while, but I feel like we figured out kind of where or what we want to do next. I don't know. It's like the hard.
What do we want to be when we grow up? Like that kind of thing.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know. It's just hard. It's really. I've been thinking about that a lot. Like it's really interesting the way, like we started LE without ever really intending to start LE, right? Like neither of us went into it. Like we just kind of did it, and then it worked out really well from the beginning. But I think like I'd always heard that thing, or I saw this like image one time that on the internet of like when you start a business and then like you get kind of like lost in the desert and like and then you find out what you're doing. And like I feel like I don't necessarily feel like we were like lost in the desert, but I do think it's just like it's hard to figure out where you want to go sometimes, like what's the next move and all that. And I feel like we've had some good conversations about that and tried a lot of different things. And I kind of feel like where we're going next with like, multiple products and I don't know, just kind of doing more content like this. I think that's a really good move for us. So yeah, I don't know. That feels like the best thing for me.
Yeah. I was telling somebody, I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was telling somebody the other day, like we're kind of like leaning into the stuff that we do well.
Yeah.
Right. And I think when we go back and look at like, what were we doing in 2018? And it was like, we were creating products. We were talking on podcasts and like, creating content, doing those kind of things, focus on the community and that kind of stuff. And so it's like, we're kind of like leaning into that more and trying to go, okay, like, let's get back to that baseline. And then how do we like amplify that? So,
yeah. I think, dude, like the biggest thing, I'm not getting into a regret here or anything, but like, I used to create a lot of content. I've really thought about that. I'm like, how was the Facebook side hustle course like so like how was the audience like so excited about it? Because like it's hard to repeat that. Like, and I think, for people that don't know, I mean, like we did $136,000 in our first weekend as a company. It's like obviously you're not going to be able to just recreate that kind of success with every single thing that you do. But I'm like, I've been thinking a lot, like what was it about? Like, obviously the offer was great. We had, great sales copy, product was great. I think just like you and I, like our different backgrounds, everything worked well. But I used like the Millennial Money Man audience that we launched it to was like, used to be so much more engaged and we're kind of starting to get back there now. But like, I used to just create so much more content and I don't know what happened. Like, I feel like in 2020-ish, I guess it's the pandemic. I don't really know. I just stopped creating content. Like I just didn't want to do it. I've been so like in the business, like focusing on like the funnels and like, same thing with us here. Like we were just like creating new products and doing all the stuff. And like, we kind of like didn't do the audience stuff at all. We stopped the podcast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know why that happened. But now it's like, well, crap, it's so much easier now to reach people than it ever has been. It's like, no, I guess we should do it.
Yeah, 100%. If we were to jump ahead and like say, like, what's your biggest regret or the thing like you'd wish you'd done? Like, content is the answer for me, hands down. And that's like laptop empires and personal. And I know you feel that way with Millennial Money Man too, because of all the moves that y'all are making. But I'm like, like I'm 8, 9, however many years into this thing and have done a lot of things well and a lot of things right. And like one of the big things that I sacrificed because I was just trying to balance time with the kids and being a stay-at-home dad and all that was like, I didn't create a lot of content. Right. And it didn't make sense. Like for me too, it was like, I've always been, and I still don't know the answer to this, like, but I've always been kind of like, I didn't want my kids in the stuff. Where I'm not sure how I feel about that now because I do see certain people that I like how they do their business and their kids make appearances and things. But like, my kids have always shown up in our private communities, when we're doing, they've shown up on podcasts before, but like they've shown up in coaching calls and things like that. But I've always been like, I don't know if I want to create content with my kid there, so I didn't do a lot of that. And I'm like, man, I wish we hadn't stopped the YouTube channel. We hadn't stopped the podcast. I wish I had been creating content, when I was starting out. I did with my fitness business back in the day, so I think it's kind of interesting you brought up. It's kind of another topic but it's like, yeah, we're doing that. So like, that's a big change we're making. But definitely one of the things that like, it's like, man, I wish, hindsight's 2020.
Yeah. And it's good that we're doing it now.